Okay, fine. Let's now look at the merging of the neural column and brainstem nuclei, because once you have discussed the 7 neural column, you have to incorporate along with the brainstem, and that is going to be a tedious job, but we have to do it. And let's do it. You remember there was most of the skeletal muscles called GSC, but when you talk about cardiac and smooth muscle, they were called GVE. If it is general sensation, they are GSA. If it is angina pain, colicky pain, GVA, maybe blood pressure and chemoreception also. If it is hearing vision, it is SSA. And if it is taste and smell, then it is SVA. So there are some neural columns which we already know and we have to talk about. See, SVA was the smell and taste, but it does not come to the brainstem. Woo, the smell. And the vision and hearing balance is the SSA, but this does not come to the brainstem. Woo, the vision. So vision will not come to brainstem? No. Hearing balance will come to brainstem? Yes, pontomedullary junction. So this you have to remember, that maybe the vision is SSA but not come to the brainstem. And maybe the smell is SVA but not come to the brainstem. Just have some idea. Okay. What you do now is pull all these brainstem nuclei and arrange them in a table according to their neural columns, 7 neural columns. So you mean to say whichever nuclei we have shown in the brainstem, now number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, nucleus ambiguous, nucleus tractus solitarius, pull them into a table, arrange them according to neural columns. If you remember, we have discussed earlier, every E column has a corresponding A column. So if you have a GSC, there's a GSA. If you have a SVE, there's SVA. If you have a GVE, there's a GVA. But SSA is alone. Why SSA is alone? Because I don't have anything called as SSE. There's no SSE in the body. SSA is alone. And then you are looking at the brainstem having 3 components, that is midbrain and the pons and the medulla oblongata, to discuss some of the nuclei. You know which nucleus is there in the midbrain? Number 3, 4. And which one? The mesencephalic sensory nucleus of trigeminal. And there are some other nuclei of trigeminal, the oculomotor basically here. So we want to discuss all of them now. Yes, by drawing a table. Let us draw the table now. In our table, we will discuss everything almost, whatever is in these tables. So let's do the job. Our job is to describe 2 tables. Now, if you're telling there are 2 tables, fine. In the upper table, you will find that there is the description of motor column and the sensory column. You mean to say motor efferent column, 3 of the efferent column? Yes. And sensory afferent column, 4 afferent column? Yes. Then we will talk about the column then, start. As you are talking about the columns, you see skeletal muscles are 2 type, but most of them they are GSC and there are very few which are SVE. Who are SVE? The pharyngeal arch muscles are SVE. So basically you are telling that there are 2 kind of muscles? Yes, skeletal muscles are 2 type. When you say skeletal muscles are 2 type, most of skeletal muscles are GSC and some of them are SVE. The pharyngeal arch muscles are SVE. Let us talk about them now. See, when we were talking about the GSE, G for general, S for somatic or skeletal, and E for muscle, general skeletal muscle, general somatic muscle. Do you remember in the brainstem, we have discussed that number 3, 4, 6 supplying the eyeball and number 12 supplying the tongue are under this neural column. Why? Because eyeball and tongue muscles do not develop in the pharyngeal arches, and because they don't develop in the pharyngeal arches, they must be GSC. All skeletal muscles are GSC except the pharyngeal arch muscles, which are SVE. So eyeball muscle and tongue muscle do not develop in the pharyngeal arches, they must be GSC in the brainstem. They are pure motor nerves. The number 3, 4, 6 is the formula of eyeball, and 12th nerve is for the tongue muscles. Then what about the nerves of the SVE neural column? The nerves of the SVE neural column, let us discuss them. now. And as you're talking about them, I'll put them here. SVE, pharyngeal arch muscles, and discuss them there. Actually, what you want is to discuss their nerves. So let's do that. What you are telling is there's a first arch nerve, name, mandibular nerve, branch of trigeminal, controlling muscles of mastication, developing in first pharyngeal arch. Then you have the facial nerve for second arch, controlling the muscles of facial expression. They're all special visceral muscles, pharyngeal arch muscles. So you're telling S for special, V for visceral, E for muscle, special visceral muscle. Muscles of mastication in the first arch supplied by mandibular nerve, branch of trigeminal. And muscles of second arch, muscles of facial expression controlled by facial nerve. What about the arch number 3, 4, 6? If you say arch number 3, 4, 6, then I'll tell you arch number 3, 4, 6 will have a nucleus ambiguous. So number 9, 10, 11, the cranial part of 11. And this nucleus ambiguous control the muscles of palate and the pharynx and the larynx and that you already know. Remember, now number 3, this arch number 3, 4, 6 will have now number 9, 10, 11, making the nucleus ambiguous, controlling muscles of palate, pharynx, larynx, and they are called as the SVE muscles. Now, once you have told the SVE column has the number 5 trigeminal, the number 7 the facial, the number 9, 10, 11, we have to put them in the brainstem now. Let's do it there. See, here we will be talking about brainstem. Midbrain followed by the pons, followed by the medulla oblongata. Let me magnify it actually. So you are telling that this is brainstem here? Yes, it is actually midbrain followed by pons and medulla oblongata. My job is to arrange these nuclei under each neural column. So what was the first neural column? GSC. And what was the second? It was the SVE. I want to talk about their nuclei now. So you mean to say that you want to arrange some of the nuclei in the brainstem according to their neural column? Yes. GSC, which nerves are there? And SVE, which nerves are there? So GSC you already know. GSC you already know. Now number 3, 4, 6 and 12. Yes, I know. But now number 3, 4, 6 and 12 I have to put under GSC now. So what do you think? Where is the number 3 and 4? Now number 3 and 4 actually they are in the midbrain. This is the number 3 and this is the number 4 in the midbrain. And where is the number 6? It is in the lower pons. And where is the number 12? It is in the medial medulla. If you remember, medial medulla. So we're talking about number 3, 4, 6 and 12 under the GSE column now. Yes, in the brainstem. And under the GSC column, number 3, 4 are in the midbrain. Superior colliculus is the oculomotor. Inferior colliculus is the trochlear. Lower pons is the abducens, and then you have the 12th nerve in the medial medulla. What about the nerve number 5, 7, 9, 10, 11? If you say nerve number 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, that is SVE, and under SVE you can show. Then where will I show the nerve number 5? In the pons. You remember there's a motor nucleus of trigeminal in the pons to control the muscles of mastication. So motor nucleus of trigeminal, which is in the pons to control the muscles of mastication, the muscles of first pharyngeal arch, and the 7th nerve is also there in the pons to control muscles of facial expression. 7th nerve nucleus in the pons to control muscles of facial expression. And what about the lateral medulla? Now, number 9, 10 and 11, nucleus ambiguous, lateral medulla. So now 9, 10, 11 making a nucleus ambiguous in the lateral medulla to control the muscles of palate, pharynx and larynx. So where is the number 5 and 7? They are in the pons. Where is the number 9 to 11? They are in the lateral medulla. And then we will talk about the third efferent column. Who is the third efferent column? It is the third efferent column. We are talking about GVE. What is GVE? That is the cardiac and the smooth muscle. Now when you say it is the cardiac and the smooth muscles, what is G for? G is for the general. And what is V for? See, there are three type of neural columns which are efferent. Either it is GSC, or it is SVE, or it is GVE. What is G for? General. What is V for? Visceral. What is E for? Muscle. General, visceral, muscle. That is cardiac and smooth muscle. This is autonomic nervous system. If you say this is autonomic nervous system, fine. Controlling the cardiac and smooth muscle, fine. But then what if I have cardiac muscle pain? That is angina pain. What if I have smooth muscle pain, the colicky pain? Then we understand that each E column has a corresponding A column. Let us discuss the GVA then. Each E column has a corresponding A column. So GVE and GVA. You mean to say GVE, GVA, which is autonomic nervous system. This GVA is for the angina pain, colicky pain. Yeah, not only angina pain, colicky pain, but it is also for blood pressure and chemoreception, if you remember. Carotid body and carotid sinus. So you are telling that if there is a GVE, then there's a GVA, G for general, V for visceral, A for sensation, general visceral sensation of the angina pain, colicky pain, and also blood pressure sensation, the carotid sinus. Yes, and the chemoreception carotid body. Yes, if you remember, we have discussed that there was a nucleus tractus solitarius. It is coming to the bottom of nucleus tractus solitarius. You mean to say GVA is coming to the bottom of the nucleus tractus solitarius? Yes. And what is going to the tip? The SVA. The mnemonic SWAT NTS. Oh, FGV nerve. Yes, FGV nerve. Going to the tip of nucleus tractus solitarius. Yes, the tip. The tip. So understand that nucleus tractus solitarius has two components. If you're talking about the tip of the nucleus tractus solitarius, then it is about the SWAT NTS. What is SWAT NTS? S for special, V for visceral, A for sensation. Special visceral sensation of the taste received by the tip of the nucleus tractus solitarius, carried by the facial glossopharyngeal vagus nerve. And what is here? What is here? What is here? You already know. You see, if you have a E column, there's always a corresponding A column. So if there's a GSC, there must be a GSA. Now, if you say there's a GSC, GSA, what is GSA? G for general, S for somatic, A for sensation. General somatic sensation. General somatic sensation like what? GSC, GSA. General somatic sensation like what? Like skeletal muscle spasm. Skeletal muscle spasm. If so, skeletal muscle spasm is GSA. GSA is only skeletal muscle spasm or something else also. Actually, it could be touch and pain and temperature and also proprioception. Then you are talking about the brainstem, talk about the trigeminal. Because you are talking about the brainstem, talk about the trigeminal. Trigeminal sensory nuclei. Yes, I remember there was some nucleus carrying the touch. There was some nucleus carrying pain, temperature. There was some nucleus carrying the proprioception. You are talking about the brainstem, face, trigeminal. Let us look at the nuclei. If you remember, touch is the main sensory nucleus of trigeminal. And pain, temperature is the spinal sensory nucleus of trigeminal. And the proprioception is the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal. What is the point? Point is, I have to put them in the brainstem now. So let's do that in the brainstem. See, whatever you have discussed here, all of that must come to the brainstem now. Okay, then do it. First, you have to start with GVE. What about GVE? GVE, the autonomic nervous system. Yeah, autonomic nervous system. But what about that? Let us discuss the GVE. This is brainstem. What do you think in the brainstem, autonomic nervous system, GVE? Which system is there? Sympathetic or parasympathetic? Actually, in the brainstem, we have parasympathetic nuclei. So it is parasympathetic system then. Let us magnify and discuss it here. So you want to discuss the GVE system now? Yes. And which is some cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. Yes, not only cardiac and smooth muscle, but glands also, because glands also have smooth muscles. This is autonomic nervous system, and autonomic nervous system also the parasympathetic component, in fact. So you want to talk about GVE neural column, which is controlling cardiac muscle and also the glands. Yes, autonomic nervous system. Okay, tell me more about that. as you are talking about the GVE system, what is G for? General, V for visceral, E for muscle. General, visceral, muscle, cardiac and smooth muscles of gland and autonomic nervous system, parasympathetic. Which nerves are parasympathetic in the brainstem? That is nerve number 3, 7, 9, 10. Can you tell me the parasympathetic nucleus of nerve number 3 then? Parasympathetic nucleus for nerve number 3. Yes, Edinger-Westphal nucleus controlling some smooth muscles in the eyeball. So you are telling that third nerve has a parasympathetic nucleus in the midbrain, which is Edinger-Westphal nucleus. And Edinger-Westphal nucleus is controlling eyeball muscles, smooth muscles of eyeball. Now, nerve number 7, 9 have a composite nucleus which is called superior salivatory nucleus, inferior salivatory nucleus controlling some salivary glands on the face. Are you trying to tell that they are parasympathetic nuclei again? Yes, because parasympathetic nucleus control the glands. Most of the glands are parasympathetic glands. So, most of the glands are parasympathetic gland, and this is about the salivary gland on the face. Yes. So you have number 7, 9 together making a superior salivatory nucleus for 7th and inferior salivatory nucleus for 9th and controlling the smooth muscle of the salivary gland on the face. And those smooth muscles of salivary gland on the face is a GVE column. GVE. What about the 10th nerve? Dorsal nucleus of vagus controlling some glands, controlling some cardiac muscle and controlling some smooth muscle also. So you are telling that 10th nerve has a parasympathetic nucleus. Yes. Parasympathetic nucleus name, dorsal nucleus of vagus, which is controlling smooth muscle of gland, cardiac muscles, smooth muscles. Now, your job is bring this number 3, 7, 9, 10, carrying the parasympathetic fiber into the brainstem. Let us put them in the brainstem. Let's do that. And as you do that, you will see this is the brainstem. You are focusing upon the GVE column now. Now, if you're focusing upon the GVE column now, which nerves? 3, 7, 9, 10. And what is the name of the nuclei? Name of the nuclei, you can see yourself. Actually, there will be nerve number 3, Edinger-Westphal nucleus, and nerve number 7, superior salivatory, 9, inferior salivatory in the lower pons. So, you are talking about the nuclei in the brainstem here. Yes, you see here, we have discussed already. Where is the third nerve, Edinger-Westphal nucleus? It is in the midbrain. Edinger-Westphal nucleus in the midbrain. And where is the superior salivatory, inferior salivatory nucleus to control the salivary gland number 7, 9? It is actually in the lower pons. Lower pons. In the lower pons, you have 7th nerve, superior salivatory nucleus, and 9th nerve, inferior salivatory nucleus. And what about the dorsal nucleus of vagus? It is here. Dorsal nucleus of vagus is a parasympathetic nucleus in the medulla. Now, when you say dorsal nucleus of vagus is a parasympathetic nucleus in the medulla, fine. Now, I have to discuss some more neural columns. And which neural column you want to discuss? I want to discuss that SVA and GVA, and they have a common nucleus, which is nucleus tractus solitarius. If you are talking about the tip, it is SVA. If you are talking about the bottom, it is GVA. So you want to discuss SVA, GVA, a composite nucleus now? Yes, it is in the lateral medulla. And in the lateral medulla, you have nucleus tractus. So it is the tip is for the taste and the bottom is for the blood pressure sensation, chemoreception, angina pain, colicky pain. Yes, that is GVA. You already have drawn this nucleus, in fact, here. We are talking about the GVA, and this is the nucleus we are talking about. Lower part is here and upper part is there. Upper part is the SVA and lower part is the GVA. This is what we have discussed. Now, one is left, GSA. And when you say one is left, which is GSA, let us put the GSA also. And when you are talking about GSA, you know the nucleus already. There is one main sensory, there is a mesencephalic sensory, and then there is a spinal sensory. So when you're talking about GSA neural column, you are looking at this GSA neural column. There are some 3 nuclei of trigeminal. Who is carrying the touch? That is the main sensory in the pons. Pons has main sensory. And who is carrying the pain temperature? There is a spinal sensory nucleus of trigeminal passing the lateral medulla. So passing the lateral medulla, you have the spinal sensory nucleus of trigeminal carrying the pain temperature from the same side of the face. And what about the proprioception? Mesencephalic sensory nucleus of trigeminal in the midbrain, extending into midbrain. They're all GSA. Now one neural column is left. Which one? The SSA. You remember what is under SSA? The eighth nerve, pontomedullary junction, vestibulocochlear nucleus. Now, when you say there is the SSA, which is special somatic sensation, and the vestibulocochlear nucleus at the pontomedullary junction, what is it for? Vestibulocochlear nucleus, pontomedullary junction. That is for hearing and balance. Hearing and balance. Hearing and balance at pontomedullary junction. Some of the neuron bodies in the pons, some in the medulla, extending into medulla, and SSA, special somatic sensation. Now, once you have all that information with you there, quickly revise it by practicing some MCQs. See, this is the diagram which we have drawn. And as you have drawn these tables, you will see that under GSE we had the 12th nerve nucleus and it is controlling the tongue muscle. Under the SVE column we had the nucleus ambiguous, which was controlling muscles of palate, pharynx, larynx. Under the GVE column you have the dorsal nucleus of vagus, which is controlling cardiac muscles, smooth muscles and glands. And under SVA, GVA, you have a composite nucleus, which is called nucleus tractus solitarius. Examiner will be asking you about these four major nuclei. Let us look at a question which is asking us about these four major nuclei. And it is kind of a revision now for us. And what is the question asking? It is asking what is the wrong matching for neural columns. So it is asking for wrong matching for neural columns. Let us start with the very first one, the GSC. So what do you think the 12th nerve, which is controlling the tongue muscle, is GSC or not? Actually, tongue muscles do not develop in the pharyngeal arches, so they cannot be SVE. And if they're not SVE, then they must be GSC. Actually, most of the skeletal muscles are GSC except the pharyngeal arch muscle. So tongue muscle are not developing in pharyngeal arches, so they must be GSC. This is okay. This is also okay. Why? Because nucleus ambiguous is pharyngeal arch muscles controlling muscles of palate, pharynx and larynx. If you say it is muscles of palate, pharynx, larynx, then it is nucleus ambiguous, special visceral muscle. S for special, V for visceral, E for muscle. Pharyngeal arch muscle, no problem here. Problem is actually here. That is your answer. Why this is the answer? Because dorsal nucleus of vagus is a motor nucleus to control glands and cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. So cannot be GVA, it must be GVE. It's a motor nucleus to control cardiac smooth muscle, cannot be GVA, it must be GVE. Then who is GVA? GVA is one other nucleus. Who is the GVA, the other nucleus? That is nucleus tractus solitarius, which is not only GVA but also SVA. If you say tip, then it is SVA. If you say bottom, then it is GVA. If you remember, the nucleus tractus solitarius, the tip will receive SVA and the bottom will receive GVA. That means choice number D is okay. Yes, it is. So choice number C is not okay. No, because it cannot be GVA. It should be GVE.